Excuse me, my name's Victoria Lee. Today's my first day at work and I'd like to know... Great. Great way to start. Where is everybody? Mr. Stevens told me I was going to meet my new colleagues and they were going to explain everything. Wonder if I've come to the wrong department.
Ah, you must be the new arrival. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Rachel.
The pleasure's all mine. My name's Victoria Lee.
Mr. Stevens asked me to show you the office and explain everything. So, over there is the fax and the photocopier. This is your desk and computer. What else? Oh, yes, you'll find a coffee machine down the hall. But please, remember...
Few breaks, and please keep them short.
This gentleman is Gary Reynolds, head of marketing.
How do
Mr. Stevens tells me that we're going to be working closely together. I must say, it's quite a pleasure to spend so much time with such a lovely young lady.
Happily married with a son, as a matter of fact.
Well done, Victoria. Let him know who's who. Gary's the kind of guy who can't control himself with attractive women.
Thank you for the compliment, Rachel. Let's get down to work. Here's an analysis of last year's investments. As you can see, we've consistently improved our bottom line in all sectors. Even if, as far as I'm concerned, we need to move more aggressively into the market.
What exactly do you mean?
Well, improve our e-commerce play, for example. Let's imagine for a moment that Pilgrim were to develop an advanced online catalog that would allow users to purchase directly online. Don't you think that this way we could dramatically cut our distribution?
Certainly, but what does Mr. Stevens think?
Well, he's a bit old school in his way of thinking. According to his worldview, we should focus on sales through more traditional channels. I, on the other hand, would be thrilled if you saw things more along my lines. Why don't we develop a realistic marketing strategy that includes possible e-commerce earnings? Perhaps we could convince him together.
I'm afraid I can't at the moment, Gary. I've got to focus on the bookkeeping to begin with.
Listen, why don't we have a little dinner together tonight and then continue working at my house?
I'm married, remember, Gary? Statistics, accounts, reports, not much has changed. And I was hoping for a more creative position.
See you later. Oh, hello. You must be the new hire. I'm Anne Baxter.
I'm Victoria Lee. I recognise your name. Have we met?
Perhaps we met at the Red Lion pub. I often go there with my friends.
No, it doesn't sound familiar. Actually, I have a son, so I don't get out much. But still, I've heard your name before. Just a moment, now I remember. We met on the telephone when I was still working at Spectre. We both had that problem with our courier, Fast.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I remember now. You were having problems with a shipment to China. Gosh, what a coincidence. Well, who would have ever thought we would end up working together? So, how are things going?
Well, it's still too early to say. Today's my first day at work.
Oh, well, I presume you've already met Gary.
Yes, earlier. We're working on a project together.
And I bet he's already invited you out to dinner.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
And he's probably told you that he loves working with charming young girls such as yourself.
Yes, and how do you know?
He always uses the same line. He did the same with me. How original. Well, I'm pleased that you've joined us here, and, well, I hope we'll become great friends.
Yes, well, I'm sure we will. You're very nice. And who knows, maybe that telephone call was destiny.
Mr. Stevens was reading a CV, it was Victoria's curriculum vitae, when he was doing the interview with her. Well, often, in reality, people doing interviews don't have time to read the whole CV. And so, if you're in the interview, you have to look at the information very quickly and just get the general understanding of it. So what he was doing, he was skimming for important information. And that's what I want to talk to you about now, are the 4 skills that we use for reading, which are skimming, scanning, extensive reading, and intensive reading. So let's call on the screen to look at those. Now, the first thing that I talked about was skimming, which is what I said Mr. Stevens was doing. And that means that you read quickly in order to get the most important information, or to get the gist. The gist is the general understanding. The most important information, to get the gist. And this is what you will do in your job, for example, if you have to read a newspaper quickly, magazines, business and travel brochures, for example. So you read them quickly to pick out the important information. That's skimming. The second one is scanning. Now, we use scanning in order to extract particular information, a particular piece of information. So, for example, if you want to see a particular television program, you scan it. If you want to think about travel, if you want to see what train or what plane leaves, a train or a plane schedule, you scan it and pick out the particular information important for you. Also, a conference guide. When there are many speeches, you scan and pick out the one relevant to you. What about extensive reading? Now, extensive reading is the type of reading you use when you want to obtain a general understanding about a subject. So, for example, it could mean for you reading a market strategy book, or a novel, or a magazine article which is related to your job. So, extensive reading for general understanding. And the last one is the intensive reading, and that is for accurate reading for detail, and that's where you read for every word. It's important to understand every word and every fact, obviously. And in this case, you would use it with like a bookkeeping report, very important to look at the details, an insurance claim, or for contracts. Terribly important to read every word. That is intensive reading. So remember that when you're in your workplace, it's important to be able to move between skimming, scanning, extensive reading, and intensive reading. Sometimes in English, you are tempted to want to understand every word. So you use the dictionary. It takes ages. It's just not necessary. Remember, check on what the task is that you want to achieve, and then choose whether you need to skim or scan, and don't bother about the words that you don't understand. Go for the particular information. All right? So happy reading. Bye, and see you in the next lesson.